Welcome to Popcorn Chat. I'm Kurt Jarvis. This week I will be reviewing for two movies for you, which are The Three Stooges and The Cabin in the Woods. This episode is brought to you by the Star Wars trilogy. If you don't know what this is, why are you watching this? Seriously. Why are you breathing air? You need to go watch it. Star Wars trilogy. Worth your time. Everybody. If you've seen it 100 times, you'll see it 101. It's worth your time. Alright. Let's start with The Three Stooges, directed by the Farrelly brothers. The Farrelly brothers are a very interesting brother-team director. They're almost like the anti-Coen brothers, if you want my opinion. They have done things like There's Something About Mary, which is one of my favorite comedies of all time. I still laugh hysterically at that movie. They're not afraid to take a lot of chances with their movies. They do a lot of tit and fart jokes, honestly, to be honest with you. So when I found out they were doing The Three Stooges, I was kind of like, well, how are they going to do that with their style of directing? What they did is they really dumbed down what they do, okay? They just said, okay, we're going to tone this down big time, and we're going to make this a PG movie. We're going to honor The Three Stooges for what they are, which is a lowbrow slapstick style of comedy. The Three Stooges, for those of you who are not familiar, and I have no idea why you wouldn't be familiar with this, but it was a 30-minute TV show back in the day. It was black and white. It was, like I said, very slapstick, you know, lots of eye-poking, lots of punching, lots of things like that. To get you to, you know, a lot of physical comedy to get you to laugh. And what I was concerned about, it ended up being a problem for the movie in that, how are you going to take something that's that lowbrow, that slapsticky in 30 minutes and make it into an hour-and-a-half movie? You know, the story was there. It wasn't the greatest story ever, but they basically said, we got to have something that we can, you know, can go on and do 90 pages of script with. But overall, I have to say this. I didn't have a lot of big laugh moments. Matter of fact, I think I only had one. I did a lot of smiling. I did a lot of watching. I did a lot of giggling. I did not do a lot of laughing. However, this is rated PG, and I think that's appropriate because for what The Three Stooges are. And the kids that were in the theater with me actually laughed. So I think that the goal was accomplished for what they were trying to do, which is let's introduce this to a whole new audience and see what happens. I'm not against that. I'm not against that at all. Even though I didn't have the big laugh moments, the children in the audience that I was watching this with, I was surrounded by, they did. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Now maybe they'll be curious about what The Three Stooges are because, hey, let's face it, they're iconic TV. Okay, it's iconic. You know, I remember having a teacher one time in grade school saying, I don't know why anybody watched The Three Stooges. And I literally about fell out of my chair and went, are you kidding me? They're great. So, you know, and that's fine. And I think that one of the best things about this movie is that it set it up for a sequel. If they want to make another one or maybe another two, I would quit at that point. But it didn't ruin anything to where you don't want to make another one. Now they've built on this characterization that they can go another step and maybe find that little level higher to get more of the adult fans, more laughs is what I would try to do, is try to balance that. You know, because it was obvious what they were going for. To me, it was obvious what they were going for, which was let's just cater to this younger audience. And I'm okay with that. Like I said, I think that's fine. I would like to see the next one try to do both, maybe try to get that balance in there. And I know they had a lot of casting problems and they had a lot of writing problems, so maybe that all played into it. But I think there's a way that they can go a level up for the next one if they decide to make another one. But I do give a positive recommendation for the Three Stooges fans out there who wanted to see this. Go see it. It's worth your time. It's good to get that tribute out there and you know, tip your cap to what I think is brilliant comedy. Like I said, it's lowbrow. Don't expect a lot of intelligence out of it, but it's in its own way, it's brilliant. Moving on to The Cabin in the Woods, which was written by Joss Whedon. For those of you who watch TV, you might know Joss Whedon. He was the one who was the writer and director of things like Dawson's Creek, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He also did Firefly. So his knack for dialogue, if you've watched any of those, you know his knack for dialogue is top notch. This guy knows how to create a scene. This guy knows how to write, you know, good scripts. And I want to tell you something about The Cabin in the Woods. Those of you who know me know I am not a big horror movie fan. I think horror movies are disgustingly stupid to the point where it's almost systematic now. And Paranormal Activity has totally proven my point that you don't even need anything at all, including acting, to make a horror movie these days and make money, because all it is we're going to crank the volume up to 13 when something else happens. And everybody will jump and think it's scary. And it has nothing to do with what I think horror movies should be about, which you should base them off sort of Alfred Hitchcockian type of thinking. Let's build suspense. Let's build characters you care about. And that way when something happens and they're in a situation, you actually care about what's going on. And it's tense and it's scary because of that. Joss Whedon, congratulations. You did it. I'm so freaking amazed by this movie. I hate horror movies. Can't stand them. I loved this movie. This movie was fantastic, okay? It's almost like Saw. Remember the first Saw movie where you have Cary Elwes who's in a situation and he can't quite figure out what he's in, but you know something is controlling it? It's a lot like that, except it's a group of people instead of just one person. And they're sort of people that you understand are controlling this. They're sort of puppeteering this. And it tips its hat, if you will, to a lot of different genres of horror movie. Like there's a zombie in it, there's mass killing in it. So whatever type of horror movie you like, there's a tribute to that in this. But it's done in such a very, very intelligent, suspenseful way that I was just impressed all the daylights with The Cabin in the Woods. Loved this movie. Absolutely loved it. Highly recommend it. I was curious of what all the buzz was because I kept noticing all the critics were like falling in love with this. But I was like, really? I mean, I'm like, I know Joss Whedon's good, but can he save a whole genre of horror film? Yes, he can, and he did. And kudos to him. He is the reason why this thing is successful. I know it wasn't directed by him, and I don't care. They had a lot of material to work with. He handed it to a director and said, hey, here's gold. Just don't make it into silver, and you got yourself a hit. And they turned it into, platinum, in my opinion. I think it is a fantastic film. It's tense. It's suspenseful. It's brilliant. You care about the characters. You care about the story. The ending is good. Everything you should want in a horror movie is in this. I know it looks campy. The previews did not give you much. It looks like, hey, a bunch of people camping out in the woods, almost like a Jason film. Again, that's a tribute to the Jason films. They're camping in the woods. Hello? But that's what it is. It's tipping its hat to these sort of genres, these tributes, if you will, and it's doing it in a very intellectual, very fun, very scary way. Highly recommend Cabin in the Woods. If you come back next week, I will be reviewing 2 more movies for you. Polar opposite movies. The lucky one was Zac Efron, looking like a very cheesy romantic comedy, maybe romantic drama. I don't know what that's going to be. And Chimpanzee, a documentary about chimpanzees. And it's a Disney film, and Disney documentaries kind of come and go with me. So we'll see how well that goes. But those are the 2 I'll be reviewing next week. This week on DVD, for all you DVDers, you got 2 very different genres out there. You've got Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which I recommend. I actually like this one. After the first 3, I just thought were okay. The second, third one I thought were terrible. They rebounded nicely with this one. The action is really good. So for you action freaks, go get this. If you got a Blu-ray player, watch it in Blu-ray. It is phenomenal in Blu-ray. Very good movie. Tom Cruise, you're back on your game. I'm really glad to see it. The second movie out on DVD that I'm going to recommend for adults only is Shame. You might have remembered me really talking about this. It was my number 5 best movie of 2011. I think it is a brilliant artistic film. If you don't like artistic style films, don't watch it. But it is about sex addiction. The topic is very adult. Michael Fassbender is fascinating. Steve McQueen III, the director, did a brilliant job shooting this. Those are worth your time. So if you want to have something kind of actiony with the family, get Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. If you want something with your significant other, get Shame. It's very topical, and it'll stick with you for a while. It's a very good movie. That's all I got this week. Until next week, I might see you at the movies.